Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Hope everyone is enjoying themselves today. As I was telling Lori a little bit earlier, I'm like, what is happening to this weather? I'm like, give me those 70s again. Alrighty, guys, if this is your first time joining us, hello, my name is Sadie Uriben. I'm the media producer for the Los Angeles Regional SBDC. The SBDC is a national program with over 1,000 locations across the country, helping to stimulate the economic growth through business advising and development. The LASPDC offers no-cost services through funding provided by the U.S. Small Business Administration, SBA, and from the California Office of the Small Business Advocate. It's your tax dollars at work. The Los Angeles Regional SBDC network operates 7 service locations throughout Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, and Ventura counties. Our services are also offered virtually. We are here to help. We empower small business owners by offering tailored solutions through personalized one-on-one business advising, cutting-edge workshops, and comprehensive programs, all provided at no cost. We are dedicated to supporting your entrepreneurial journey every step of the way. All righty, Lori. Well, I'm excited. I feel a lot of happiness coming our way today.
Absolutely, absolutely. I tell you guys, I was updating my whole computer setup. I was talking about it, my new studio and everything, and I've got 2 monitors. And sometimes, has anybody done this with 2 monitors? I lost my mouse. I was like, where's the mouse? I'm looking all around for it. I got it back. I was almost like, oh my God. But yeah, it's been really fun trying to deal with learning how to do something new. It's one of those things that's going to be really cool when I figure it out. But right now, every once in a while, there's a flaw in the system. Okay, so I'm going to talk about February because February is right around the corner. So this is my webinars for February. Like I've said before, I'm limiting it down to this series only, but until I know differently, this one will be repeated. So if you're needing some more information on some of the others I used to give, just reach out and chat with me about it on a one-on-one. Oh, I forgot to take Lisa's name off today. So yeah, that goes to show you how updated I am here today. So let me just say about next week. Next week, Max was supposed to come on. He was going to talk about funding options, but it looks like what's going to happen is you may get an Ask Lori again. Max unfortunately had a change in his calendar, and he just let me know yesterday. And rather than get somebody on immediately without a lot of advertising behind it, I thought, you know what? We're going to sit down and chat. And I always say to Sadie, well, if we ended after 5 minutes, it'll be done. And it always goes on for over an hour. So my plans for next week is to answer any of your questions. I know, look at Brenda. We love the Ask Lori. I know I always feel like I'm letting you guys down because I don't have a guest when I have to stick in and Ask Lori. And then I get reminded that you actually like that. So I know last time and always you want to talk about legal structures and the tax and get, all these things that are really confusing and ask a ton of questions on that. So you can throw Sadie anything specifically that you might want me to talk about into the chat today, and she'll grab it and send it to me. And we'll just hang out next week and see what we can talk about, unicorns and rainbows or tax and legal structures. It's all on the table to me. There's really no difference in it. So with no further ado, we are going to have so much fun. So I left out the Lori's Corner. That's what I forgot to add. I left out the Lori's Corner because we're going to chat a whole lot next week. So with no further ado, let's get into today's show, which I'm very excited about. Lisa Habibab is a owner of New Art Creative. And New Art Creative is a creative studio specializing in creative direction, business strategy, and project management. The company has worked with household brands to lead high quality projects by aligning creative vision with the right talent, resources, and industry partners. Lisa also provides coaching and mentoring to creatives. The company is currently expanding its services to support content creators, coaches, and online service providers with the same level of creative leadership and strategic guidance. Lisa, welcome to the show.
Hi, Lori. Hi, everyone. Thanks
Hello.
so
And
much for having me.
guys, I was telling Sadie before the show, and I'm going to even say this. I said, Lisa is so much fun and always laughing and smiling. If you're in the middle of a disaster and you may die, you want Lisa around. because you'll be like, okay, this could be my last minutes on earth. I'm going down laughing. So it's going to be a fun show if we just sit here and chat about nothing. But I have to tell you, Lisa, and we're going to get into your company. While I was reading this in my head, where it said that you provided coaching and mentoring to creatives, I had in my head the expression of, isn't that like herding cats?
1000%.
Did. I was laughing at myself. I'm like, there's something like really funny about that. I see like, kids with crayons out of control half the time is what I talked about. So I was like, I see where Lisa gets her behaviors. Okay, this is all making sense to me now. Okay, I like that. Be careful, Lori. I thought that was hilarious. Okay, so Lisa, were you born happy? Let's start. I usually say people, what do they wanted to do when they got out? But I gotta say, were you born happy and laughing? Was this just you?
No, actually, not at all. Not at all. This is a learned skill, I would say. After a lot of hardship, I had a really hard childhood, actually. And that's what led me into personal development and kind of so essentially, I guess I cultivated happiness.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, growing up, I can't say I was always happy. I wasn't having fun at life, and I kind of intuitively. I have always been intuitive. I've been really intuitive, really creative. And so as a little girl, I do remember thinking like, oh, something more is here. Like life shouldn't really be like this. But I was super blessed and I had a lot of like kind of chosen family around me growing up. And I started learning at an early age. I think I was watching Tony Robbins,
Oh my God. I love Tony Robbins was a game changer for me. Oh my God. I went and saw him in person.
Oh, cool.
Because
Oh
yeah,
my
I saw him in person.
gosh.
Oh yeah, it's when I was in Texas. Yeah. And I remember because I didn't have a great childhood either. And I didn't even know this about you on this. We resonate with. I kept thinking there's got to be more than this because if there's not, I'm checking out of here, man. I'm
Yeah.
just done. This is like crazy. This is like so crazy. And I love what you're saying because it's a very powerful message. It's saying that you can create your own happiness, you can create your laughter, and you can create your fun. But I think I was only about 25 when I can still see this. This is hilarious. My friend brought to me, you're going to see where this is going, a big shopping bag with handles on it, right? Like one of those, grocery bags with handles,
Uh-huh.
filled, packed full of Tony Robbins tapes because back in the day they weren't even cassettes, they were
Uh-huh.
the big tapes, right? So
Yeah.
for the VCR type thing, right? So I had like the I don't know how many weeks of it, whatever, the 90 days or something like that, which meant it was like probably 30, 40 tapes worth, right? And I
Yeah.
got those tapes and popped the first one in and was stuck on it and was like, oh my God. And that was like the first kind of real awakening that, wait a minute, I can control my world. I can control my thoughts and I control my world. I had no idea. You're
Mhm.
young to have toned into Tony Robbins.
Yeah, well, I can get into the story. I'm going to try to make this really quick because I know we want to cover a lot, but it's worth it, I think. I was in a really bad relationship. Everything was going downhill. My car was breaking down. I was waitressing, making a few bucks here and there. And one day I was just outside the parking lot. I lived in Florida and I thought like, let me go to the Books a Million. I love the bookstore. That's a place that makes me kind of happy. But in the parking lot, I was just kind of like, I had one of those breakdown moments. I'm like, there has to be something else. Like, this is not it. And I was in the bookstore and a lady walked up to me and she said like, hey, have you ever heard of this book? And I was like, no. I mean, she just comes out of the blue, starts talking, and I'm like, no. And she's like, well, it helped me with my stage 3 cancer. And I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, it's really, really powerful. And she showed it to me, and I was like, okay, well, I'll come back and, when I get the money, I'll definitely take it seriously. So I go to leave and she chases after me in the parking lot, and I'm condensing this, but she chases after me in the parking lot and hands me the CD. It's a book on tape, a CD back then.
Yeah.
And, and and then she was just gone. She vanished. It was so surreal. It was this moment where this stranger like took it upon herself to help me out. And, I was like, whoa, this felt really magical. I mean, I guess there's really no
Oh, yeah.
other word
Yeah,
than.
yeah.
And so that book was The Secret by Rhonda Byrne, which had led me into the kind of portal of all of the self-help and motivational speakers and self-development. So I think I was about like 18-ish years old at that point. And I just dove deep, and that's how I kind of stumbled upon it. At that time, I was going to law of attraction groups, and and there was about like a 20 or 30 year my senior. So I was the
Yeah.
only one. I was really eager to learn and put it to work and just apply all those principles and stuff. So I just fell in love with it. I was like, whoa, this has really changed my life in so many ways. And yeah, I learned to kind of develop a skill of being happy. And then from there, everything else kind of changed too. Like I just thought, okay, I need to like change some of these friendships. Like I need to cultivate those other things that make me happy, from the little things to like putting a pair of earrings on that I loved, and into like the bigger things like releasing some people that just weren't a part of, my new story and all that kind of thing. So,
Wow, it's fascinating. Yeah, like I said, that's what this show is about. It's about going down all these different roads of learning who people are and what their influence on. Before we leave, that last thing I'll say, Tony Robbins influenced me. Like it was when he was just starting out. I'm so many years older than you, but I ended up looking into his background to find out he had just gone through one class in NLP. Was not, can't remember right now. I think he went through like a weekend course of neurolinguistic programming, and that was the basis of it. I got so enthralled with it. I don't even ever talk about this, but it caused me years later to go through the whole practicum. I'm an NLP practitioner
oh,
because I
cool.
realized what you're speaking about was very interesting to me about how to manage your thoughts, how to, how the brain is functioned and programming. And at that point, I was like, I think I got some shitty programming. I need to upgrade. We didn't talk like that then, but yeah, it was really, really there. Oh, wow. That was a fascinating beginning and a resonance that I didn't even know we had together collectively, especially given our age difference. So tell us about the creative part. We're going to get into the company and what it does. But when you got out of high school, were you in a creative mindset? Was that where you wanted to go?
Yes and no. Like I'm sure many of us here, I was always part of the multi-passionate crew. So
I'm multi-passionate. I love that. A new expression, Sadie, capture that one. I'm part of the multi-passionate. When I was younger, it was like, you don't have any focus and discipline. And your age comes around, I'm part of the multi-passionate crew. Oh, I love it already. Okay, sorry. That was too awesome to let that go. Keep going.
yeah, so I have always had a love for music, film, books, arts, and all that kind of thing. So I was kind of, and also, but simultaneously business. So I was split. I thought, oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And so I did some dabbling in first business, and I thought, I want to open up a doggy daycare. This is
Oh, I knew this was going to be fun. Okay, keep going.
a doggy daycare is the dream. So, yeah, I had got down that I started my like business school and business classes, and I felt like, oh, I don't know, that's a little bit too boring. So, and I just kind of thought like, I need to dream a bit bigger. Like this is maybe this is something I could do when I retire, and I'm living on the coast somewhere, and I'm surrounded by dogs, and I could do that later. That sounds nice. Later on in life, but right now I'm young. I have my new tools, so that was a perfect, backstory, because I thought like as I'm listening to Tony and everybody, they're really inspiring me. I'm like, I can go and kind of do whatever I want.
Right.
And I went to, I decided I want to make clothes. I want to be a fashion designer. that became the new dream. And I started going after it, um, only to find out I couldn't stand sewing. I didn't want to sit in a chair and sew.
That would be a problem.
I'm like, oh, I kind of want to just create something from my head and then like be like, yeah, let's make this. Which you kind of can do with AI now, but
And
back
yeah,
then
you
you
can't.
couldn't.
You couldn't. Right. Exactly.
So yeah, I tried to stick through it for a while, and I was like, this is also not it. So I kind of knew when to throw in the towel,
Yeah.
and I was still feeling like so at that time I still lived in Florida in the kind of Orlando area. And I had one of my best friends in the Navy. She was living in San Diego. And she was kind of like, "Hey, my he got deployed. Do you want to come here for the summer?" And it had been on my vision board. It had been something that I wanted to do. And we had been best friends since high school. So I'm like, this sounds kind of legit. Like, I could go to Southern California. I could like hang out with Kelsey. I can see if I like it. And if not, I could always just go back to what I was doing before. So I did that. And of course, I had a blast. I loved San Diego and the culture around San Diego and everything. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to stay here and now I'm going to go to school for film. This is so it's kind of almost going through my interest. I was just going down the line, dabbling and kind of feeling into it and seeing if that was the right path. Um, and I did start going to school for film. I was big in my manifestation practices at that time too. I was always, doing the aligned action and all the things. But one day, I I saw they were filming by my place where I lived in San Diego. And so I'm going to school and I see them filming. I'm like, I'm just gonna go and set and start talking to them, see what's up. And the producer there, I did, and he's like, "Look, we don't got a lot going on right now. We're just filming at the bar. So, but uh, within the next week, they were going to film on the big military ship in San Diego, and you're welcome to come there." And so that was my first time on set, and it was just really exciting to me. It was really cool. We had this big location. I'm seeing all the lights and meeting the directors. Everybody's being really nice. And it was an awesome experience. It also just kind of confirmed I was on the right path. I was like, this, I now feel it. Like I didn't feel it with doggy daycare and fashion, the fashion design. So I did that. And then I ended up meeting a fabulous mentor. I got really, really close with her. And she kind of knew what I was doing. I was going to school for film, and now I'm really jazzed. I feel like it's the right path. And my mentor was like, and my mentor was she's still in the business of she has a bunch of art galleries. She has,
Okay.
so adjacent, but different. She's in the arts, but she said, "Lisa, look, you don't need college for this. This is an arts, it's in the arts field. Trust me, I kind of know. So just go to LA, move to LA, and start working in the field." And that's exactly what I did. I thought, I know she's right. Again, I just kind of kept trusting my intuition and following that path, and those, everything kind of seemed to keep being synchronized for me. And oh gosh, this is funny. So I moved to LA. It's kind of horrible. It's just
Okay. Okay. We're
all,
ready.
all the synchronicities kind of seemed to stop. I just had weird roommates and there was no parking. I'd be driving around for hours trying to just park the car at the end of the night. I mean, it was really wild, but I thought like, okay, I'm gonna stick with it. And I was I got a job on the Ellen show. That was my first job.
Oh,
And so I moved to LA thinking I had this gig. Well,
okay.
the day I arrived, they called and said, "Hey, we're really sorry. Due to budget cuts, we're not going to be able to hire you after all." So So, and it was like, it was not yet in the field. It was like catering. It was like catering or something. So I was foot in the door, but not really doing, what I want to do. And so then I'm like, okay, I'm here. I don't have a job yet. This is kind of scary. And I started applying to a bunch of places on Craigslist. I was just winging it. I'm like, all right, I don't know. I'm just gonna apply to anything that could be relevant. And so what happened next was I ended up meeting now one of my very dear friends, but he was producing a movie. And I just kind of showed up and I was like, hey, so I don't know anything about this really. I'm just kind of here and I'm really willing to learn. I'm willing to put a lot in to learn and you don't really have to pay me. Like I'll just, I'm gonna take this as education. And um everything started from there. I got like kind of my film school in that
Okay.
project, and I was doing all the things, which ended up being really valuable to me because I could see where I wanted to land in the industry, even though it was a small project, a low budget one. So we were all kind of doing a bunch of different things. But yeah, I got to do kind of wardrobe. I thought maybe I'd like to do wardrobe.
Which
Because
is the fashion in a way coming back in. Yeah.
hmm. And then I thought like, oh, maybe I could do camera. That kind of seems cool. But what ends up then happening, and then I think that'll kind of give us a good a view, but overview. But so through this friend, he connects me to some other people that he knows, and I met a production designer. And the production designer was just so much fun, like really living the life. Like he became like the symbol of what I wanted to do for sure. I was like, okay, this is what it is. This is where I want to be. Like we get to build sets, we get to design them, we get to basically control almost everything you see on the set, except for like, the wardrobe of the talent and stuff, but the special effects and everything, that's all art department. Um, and so I didn't really know where I wanted to fit, where I wanted to go, but meeting him kind of it just was like the doors kept opening and sending me in the right direction. And I just fell in love with art department. I just fell in love with it. And I worked with he became my new mentor. And yeah, that's really how it all started. And I've been doing that now for a very long time.
Wow. First of all, before we go into the company, there's so many things I want to speak about on that wild ride. And the thing that strikes me the most on it, Lisa, was your willingness to just go with what was being presented, but at the same time, you did so many actions. You went down and talked to the film guy, then you got on the ship, then you did that. It is the perfect example of the ability to dream, the action you have to take, ability to be flexible and change your mind without beating yourself up and staying in something for years that isn't working. It was a beautiful rendition of, I think, the way to live a life, because so many people I see, they try something and they don't like it, but they feel like they have to stay with it, or they dream but never try it, or they make a perfect plan on paper or a vision board, but they never even say hello to somebody to come into their life to make any changes. You combine dreaming, action, and the ability to just live flexible through life as it was being presented to you. Maybe you didn't see it that way, but in hearing the story, that's what I heard, really.
Oh, thank you, Lori. Yeah.
And probably something that would have never been instilled in you if you were born in this perfect family that identified every action that you were going to take the rest of your life. I think that, because mine was similar. I kind of got pushed into going into become a lab technician when I was just a kid, like told, either you go and become a lab technician or you stay working on farms. Like that was the only two things, right? So I started school and then I was like, okay, not only do I not want to be around want blood, but sick people are not where I want to be, and definitely not dead people and dying people, right? So it was like so not made that I had to, remove myself from it. And I kind of, saw myself as just kind of moving around. And I think that is something that is a key that entrepreneurs need to hear, because I have always said, and you've never heard me say this because it wouldn't have been exposed to it, but I have seen people leave marriages for 30 years over one situation, but will stay with a company till it goes down to bankruptcy and destroys their entire life because they feel like they're failing or they made a commitment to the company. It's like unrealistic in staying with it. So thank you for sharing that example. So let's go to New Art Creative today. I know I read the intro, but give us a behind the scenes so we get a feel for what is it that you offer to people? Who are your customers? What's it like in a day?
Yeah, sure. So New Art Creative, we do a lot. We do a lot, and in kind of a similar approach, like people I suppose kind of find me. Like I can't really say we do a lot of advertising. It's all really word of mouth. Um, and so working in the film industry, I thought, okay, I need to kind of grow this. I need to be more than just Lisa. And I did take a detour, multi-passionate crew. I did take a detour during COVID. So I actually opened up New Art Creative as an LLC under an like for Amazon purposes to sell books on Amazon because that's what I thought I had to do. So I was like, well, the film industry is slow. I'm gonna kind of dabble over here to see like what this is about.
Yeah, because the
Um,
film industry got hit bad at COVID. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, so that's how it started as an LLC, the entity, and then we did Amazon for a while and thought this is also not it. Another pivot, another throw in the towel. Okay, I'm not gonna do that. And at that point, it occurred to me, I'm like, oh well. I'll still do my art department stuff, but at that point, people started coming to me for mentorship. So I started mentoring people that wanted to grow within the industry. Maybe they, were starting out as a production assistant or something, and they saw themselves wanting to be higher rank in the art department somewhere because there's so many um, different titles, different craftsmanship jobs within the art department. So, yeah, I mainly kind of took under my wing people that were wanting to do the project management stuff, art coordinating, art directing, that kind of thing. And yeah, it was just really rewarding to me. That's where I found that, oh, I love doing like the coaching and mentorship of it as
I
well.
can see that. Yeah.
I really loved it because now it was going from helping the companies and these big companies. I mean, we worked with Lexus and Amazon, and I mean, I could go on. I have such a long list of the household names. And while I felt like that gave us credibility and notoriety, it was just like, it didn't feel as rewarding as it did to feel like, oh, I literally just helped someone go from not knowing where they were going in their life to getting an opportunity to have a six-figure plus career. So without college, without, the expense and time that it took, just that same type of opportunity that I had, that like raw hands-on training, like being in the field. Um, and so then other clients would come and we just, we would do more non-union work like advertising. I ended up doing high fashion shoots too. That work
Oh,
came through, it came back around.
anything with the dog? Did you have a dog show you did?
Not yet.
That's coming next. That's coming next. You're going to be on some kind of Dog's Got Talent or something like that, designing the set. I say that now this afternoon, she's going to get a call with Dog's Got Talent.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, yeah, not yet, but yeah, I know it's probably coming right after the show.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, that's really interesting because you know what? The other thing I always see is in hindsight, things make sense that didn't. I mean, I always say that at my age now, people are like, you've got such a great background, and they see it as highly consistent. Like I got this focus and I just kept going forward. But that was not the truth at all. In fact, it's funny. So when I started my company, many years ago as a consulting firm, because I had, different renditions of it as well. But when I started the company and kind of was the long haul, I recognized that everybody wanted a consultant. They always would say back then, this is like 20, 30 years ago, that they didn't like generalists. They wanted you to be a specialist. So if you were a consultant and you knew a lot about a lot of topics, you had to say, well, what do you do? And they wanted to put you in a box. And they would actually say generalists aren't good at consulting, right? Which kind of doesn't make any sense to me, right? But I realized that society, especially then, 30 years ago, it wanted me in a box. Lori said, hell no, the last thing I'm going to do is get in a box, right? So part of my theory was if I started a consulting firm, I could work in each of the little companies as a consultant. I would have the diversity, but I would have this like in front company I own that is hiding that I'm all over the place, right? It's like, well, because yeah, that's really what it was. My first name of the company was, which I don't use anymore, but it was LW and Associates. And I was like, because people like associates, right? So I'm going to be LW and Associates. I made it up, right? And so then I would be hired in this company to do this, and I'm over in this company and do this. And it's like, well, what are you doing? I've had LW and Associates for 10 years and I got to play. And so I did the same thing, but gave society something that they felt comfortable with about me. But then I was like, okay, here you go. Chew on this, guys. I'm over here doing what I want to do anyway. So I get that, but it's interesting because now people like the same situation. And it comes back to what you're saying. People are like, well, how are you so knowledgeable? How are you so well-rounded? Well, because I did a lot of stuff. It really is about finding out a lot of stuff. I think this might be a really good time, and I'll do the best transition I can into this because we're going to have to like introduce the audience to what we're talking about now, right? So this is going to be fun. So how I met Lisa is through the SBDC. She was assigned to me as a client, right? And so immediately I had to just laugh because actually I started working with her husband first. We won't even go in that story. And then he's like, can you help my wife, Lisa, right? So I meet Lisa. And there's many things we're going to talk about here. And she called it, and that's why I asked her to come on the show, because she was kidding around saying that this year was the year of adulting. I'm going to let Lisa explain the year of adulting. I'm just going to set up a lot of little balls here spinning, and then she's going to bring them all together. And I thought the year of adulting was such a wonderful expression that I told her basically she could create her own podcast, which I think you're still going to end up doing this, the own coaching, talking about the year of adulting. And she'll explain more what she means by the year of adulting. But how we got into the topic and why we started talking and where the year of adulting came about is something you guys that have been on my show watching me all the time, I talk about. And I say that the government requirements for forms and regulations and the different agencies and this agency to this agency and this agency, it's more complicated than it's been my entire life. And it's all complicated now also for small companies who didn't used to have all these different business license and all these things they had to do. So when you look at the type of things that a small business has to be aware of. Should I be a sole prop? Should I be an LLC? Do I have a business license? Do I file this tax return? What if I have this? It goes on and on. Do I need a seller's permit? All this stuff. It's gotten more and more complicated. But like I express all the time, social media has gone the opposite, making you sound, just get QuickBooks, just go through LegalZoom. It's simplified. And so it's the perfect storm that I see on a daily basis. People get caught up on. And I tell you guys this all the time when I'm on the show. Well, Lisa's year of adulting was getting caught up in this stuff. So I thought it would be a great opportunity for having someone come on the show with great personality like Lisa to kind of say how you actually can think you're doing everything correct. And unless you're actually legally trained as a lawyer to know legal structures, legally trained, or certified as taxes, and then have a finance back, all these things you need to know to make sense of all of it, right? So it's one of those things you can't even say, I got educated on this. It's like time and experience and wisdom. It's almost like the setup for being in business. So I'm just going to throw that. It kind of gave a flavor to the audience, but you're going to have to weave all this together to what I just said. So talk about your experiences and what is the year of adulting? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, I guess we'll start from the beginning of the year. The beginning of the year threw a giant curveball at us. On January 7th of 2025, the Eaton fire had started, and yeah, our life completely changed. And so in every category, in every giant category of life, nobody had seen that coming, and it was so sudden. And um, we, yeah, we were heavily impacted, and just like it became a domino effect. So our place was damaged to the point we couldn't come back. And it led us into just like dealing with so many agencies that we, at the same time that we already knew, like, this is feeling so disconnected, and trying to get aid, trying to get any help, trying to get answers, trying to get the county to direct us to the right person, and all this kind of stuff. That was just like the the real intro where the doors busted open to the year of adulting, and I was like, whoa. I'm At that point I had already started feeling like an adult. I was like, this is a lot. This is okay. The county assessor, like, just
Yeah.
places I never thought I'd be needing to call, all at the same time. And um, what ended up, so there was just so tons and tons of research and needing to connect dots ourselves, and then advocate for ourselves, keep advocating, keep advocating, keep advocating. And with all of that, just like more, it felt like, kind of a bit of the groundhog game at the
Yeah.
arcade game, just solving one problem and then boom, another one pops up. And so we were dealing with being displaced from the fire, losing all of our stuff, like losing work, losing, the stability, like so much. And then what became our full-time job was just dealing with all of the fire recovery stuff. Um, and then my father passed away in March. So a couple months after the fire, my dad passes away. I'm so inundated with all of the things that we're trying to get sorted. I can't even go back to Florida to see my family there or anything. It's just like, and at a certain point, things kind of almost became a little bit numb, because it was just like, oh my gosh, how can people deal with all of this? Um, and let's see what happens next. We're still kind of going through all of that. I started to have some health issues, and beyond there was some physical things that they found, but then I think there was just like, the stress of everything coming
Yeah.
down on me. They are still not able to find like the root cause of some of these things. So we have a mysterious health challenge, which led me then into the same kind of situation now in the medical field. And I actually had, I think this is important, I had a doctor that wanted to perform a surgery that wasn't the correct surgery for what they had found, which it was the first doctor. And my husband's also very intuitive too. I was like, we went to see him, and I was like, I just want to get the surgery. Let's book it. I need it done. And he was like, something wasn't right there. He was like, no, no, something wasn't right. I think we should call a bunch of other doctors. So we did, and we found consistent answers with all the other doctors. And we're like, whoa. we like I almost literally just went into the surgery that I didn't need for, for I don't know why he would have done that. I think we know. But that became a really scary thing too. I was just like, okay, we have to be like really on point and research and advocate for ourselves and be mindful of our intuition and pivot and all these same kind of things apply in the health sector as
Yeah, I
well.
love what you just said, Lisa. I don't want to interrupt in your story, but I think that, the audience also hears me talk a lot about taking your power back. I always say that as an expression, right? And you just well defined what I mean by taking the power back. I don't care what the authority is standing in front of you, and I don't care what they're saying. You maintain the power of that decision. You see and feel if it makes sense. You do the research. You advocate for yourself. You question. I always say take your power back, but when you were speaking just now, I had more tangible actions to portray to the audience of what I mean. So please continue. I just wanted to really stop and express the actions, thought, and activities you're doing to start to take control of a situation that by nature, fires, health, dad dying is not in control and doesn't feel it. Please continue.
Yes, thanks, Lori. Yeah. A lot of times I'm just kind of on autopilot, right? Like I'm so inundated. I am used to production and things kind of flying in and being reactive to putting fires out
Right.
in production. But yeah, things started flying in, and so there is kind of a part of me that just was like on autopilot, like, okay, let me just like get this one thing done, or this is like really high priority right now. This takes priority, and then I have to shift and shuffle. And I'm really thankful for my husband's support. I think it would have been immensely harder on my own. And I think that's really important to say, is like the support, like not having to do it alone, like trying to find support wherever you can in this type of situation. I know it surely like it helped me because I don't know if it would have been as, you know, uh it would have been a lot harder taking the action and doing the things just like without the right support.
I didn't know the full story. I know when you met me and I started talking about the things you needed to know about the business and the filings, which we'll get into. I remember like when I was breaking it down to you and expressing what had to happen, you know, I get many responses. Sometimes people get mad, some people get embarrassed, some people cry, all these emotions. But I remember so well, you go, well, this is the year I've gone through health, I've gone through a fire, I've gone through a death. This is just one more thing that I've got to take on and become. I don't even remember the word, but the year of adulting came out of it. So now the background makes complete sense to me, which I didn't know the details. I just saw in that moment of our conversation, you took this on as a life situation that you now have to just take on and understand all these documents because that's where you were today. This was the time period for you to go through that. So I just have to add my own input because you put a piece into a story that I sensed when we talked about, and you gave me a bit of it, but I didn't know the whole background in it. So
Hmm.
let's take people up to our meeting. And I can't remember because we talked about so many things. What was the first question that you even had? I think it was, I got this letter or something it started with, right?
Yeah. So I think like fast forward through all of that stuff, and I'm just kind of starting to go through things that were on the docket like a long time before, and I'm like, oh, I got this letter from FTB. I wonder if it's anything. Probably
Franchise
not.
tax board, guys. Franchise tax board. Yep.
So
And it was like right around the fire. So it wasn't a recent letter. It's something you hadn't gotten to, and it was in your old mail. And Lisa pulls out this letter and is like, what does this letter mean? Yeah. So I wanted to get that. So this is where the story now starts as well.
yeah, and I thought it was really casual. I didn't think much of it at all. I thought, oh, this is just one of these random letters.
Yeah.
And yeah, luckily, thank goodness I met you, Lori. And when we started diving into it, um, I started realizing, oh, I got a big problem on my hands. I got another big problem here to solve. Okay, no big deal. Gonna try to stay calm. But it was both, I guess, uh, easy to take in because of everything else going on. And almost was like, yeah, it had kind of been like training at the gym. Like my muscles were building for this type of being resilient to this kind of thing. But also, I was like, oh no, not another thing to deal with.
And I want to mention to the audience so you can talk about this. So I told Lisa she had to go do something that a lot of times when I tell people, they totally freak out. I said, you've got to call the franchise tax board. You got to talk with them. We got to dig up what's in the records. You've got to have a conversation. And you could say a little bit, I mentored you what to say. So you had a full understanding. So you were in power. But I sent you off and said, Lisa, you got to go talk with them. And, talk about just in general, because I think that not often enough, the entrepreneur, the small businesses don't realize that they may have to contact the organizations, associations, regulatory bodies, what have you, and have conversations. Of course, I do that every day of my life. But when I have to have somebody go talk to one of these on their behalf, they either A, do it without a full understanding and they get themselves more in trouble, right? Or they do it and they don't negotiate at all. They just kind of accept whatever there is. They don't come at it, or they put it off because they're afraid and don't talk to them at all, and it gets worse. So that's another reason I wanted you to come on and tell these stories too, because you went off and you did a great job talking with them. So any words of advice with people on what that experience was like?
Yeah, so that the casual letter ended up being a gigantic problem we had to we had to solve. It wasn't
I knew it
casual.
wasn't casual. I looked at it and said, no, well, I thought it was not as bad as it was until I asked more questions. But yeah, I was like, and that's the other thing. The letters sound casual. Well, we are looking, we're researching, we're investigating, but I can read the language and I know what that means. So that's the other thing. If you get one of these letters, yes, it could be spam, but you've got to really look at it and get a opinion from someone that knows what these letters mean.
Yeah, yeah, that was key. And then so yes, I realized this is serious and thank goodness I had your guidance, but I was scared too, even after, I have been training in the gym kind of for this style, advocating for myself and researching all kind of these same skills that had been going on through the year. But I was still scared. I thought like, oh, they're gonna like break into my bank account when I walk in. Just the rational kind of things
Yep.
and also rational, just like, but there was a part of me, I'm like, I have to get it done. Like, I have to clear and clean this up. And it is going to be uncomfortable, but I'll just do it. I have the support. But it ended up not being that bad at all. Like it felt actually like a million pounds lifted off when I did go in and I was just handling it. And I thought, oh, these people are approachable. You can make an appointment and
Yep.
walk in, or you can go in the same day and you might have to wait a couple hours or whatever, but you can like kind of you can just go in and try to handle it because having that like fear, I guess the fear stopping you from handling it. I realized it could get so much worse if I didn't just do it. And it was sad to me that I hadn't done the research on the front end, or I thought I did. And I thought I did because I had someone I trusted doing my taxes. They had experience. I kind of, it gave them the reins and thought, oh, it's all taken care of. So now I'm going to be a lot more vigilant and I know what I need to do and to take care of the LLC
Yeah, and
entity.
I want to, before we get, I want to point out to the audience too is Lisa didn't do anything like we're not saying what it is. She didn't like not pay taxes or not do that, like tried to run away on things. It's these things such as needing to understand that you need to have these forms filled, missing forms, not having the proper EIN versus social security number on a form, which then ties into all these others. So suddenly you get letters from all these associations. So she didn't do anything that would, be criminal. I knew I owed taxes and I just didn't no, but because of the actions of missing some filings of form, trusting someone thinking they were filing it, not understanding to check to make sure the correct numbers on, and not understanding the complexity of an LLC. And that's one thing too, if you could, is that I express this all the time. They're talked about so much, like just go and get an LLC and everything's great. People don't respect that there is a requirement of managing this. And if you don't, you could start to get letters from, you had several different agencies there that were sending letters. But I did want to point out to the audience, this isn't anything that is like, oh my God, Lisa should have known and da, da, da. No, this is what I'm experiencing on a daily basis with a lot of people that have a small business and have the LLC. It's just getting some forms wrong. I'll let you elaborate on any of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that was I guess the most disheartening part is I had thought I had been doing everything that
Right.
I needed to do. I had a CPA actually. He had set it up for me. So I thought, oh, I had a CPA do it, and then the taxes had gotten transferred to another person I trusted. So yeah, it was like crazy to me to think that it was all nice and smooth and have all these kind of this Pandora's box of problems, just as you had mentioned, Lori, and they don't seem like big deals, but um, I have learned when we file this stuff, it has to be precise, it has to be detailed. We have to work with someone that knows what they're doing and at least get the education and the front end um and if not, if things have gone wrong, it's probably best to try to jump ahead of it and get it fixed. But yeah, it's scary kind of thinking you can do it so easy. You kind of get we've talked about this, the social media effect, like open an LLC, start your side hustle, start a business, here's LegalZoom, and then you're not educated on anything that you need. And I'm kind of a researcher at heart. I do tend to do the research, and even before a year of adulting, I like to research things thoroughly. And I guess it does kind of go back to a bit of the social media effect and a bit of like thinking it was in trusted hands where I could be more hands off than I should have been. So
Yeah, and I think the two takeaways, I tell people this all the time, they don't realize that the CPAs are not responsible. The person who files the LLC is not responsible. At the end of the day, only the business owner is responsible for all of the forms. You can't even go, well, the CPA did it. You can't. IRS is like, oh no, you're responsible for it. That's something I express. A bookkeeper, they go, well, my bookkeeper messed up the form and that, nope, nope, sorry, you're responsible for it. And then I think the other thing that really is, if I would like to change this if I could, but California tends to be really bad about catching people immediately. And so they usually catch you 3, 4, 5 years down the road, which was your case. We were going back many dates, and that usually happens. So if you're not doing something correctly now, you might think you are, and you get something 4 or 5 years later saying, but they can go back, especially if you miss filing a form, there's no statute of limitations. And so that's what I'm seeing is a lot of people are getting these forms. They're suddenly having to go back 3, 4 years on some of these forms and having to get them in correct status. And so one of the things I tell people is even when you get your tax return back from your tax person, maybe you don't understand every single number, but go through the top, make sure your name's correctly, make sure the DBA, if you use it correct, make sure it's EIN versus your social security. And that's why I'm so adamant about people going, I'm functioning as a DBA. No, there's no such business structure as a DBA. You're a sole prop that has a DBA, or you're an LLC with a DBA. So it really does bring to the point that these words matter. These terms that are just thrown around actually have meaning when you get with the government official, don't they?
yeah. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, And yeah, this is such valuable advice. It might sound so simple, but like I think like younger Lisa would have love to know this if I had known what I know now and like, oh, this is going to be a mess to try to fix it. And even just having that extra stress and worry and burden on my shoulders as I'm still fighting all the other fires in my life that yeah, it's absolutely such a worthwhile thing to do. I'm such an advocate
So
for it.
I would like to say it this way. So to the entrepreneurs that are here watching today, Lisa, whether they have an LLC, don't have an LLC, or what would you say to them going where you are now, knowing what you know now, and not Lori's words that are always so technical, but Lisa, what would you say to them?
I would say yes, please, please, please do your research before just opening up an LLC. And I think if I had done it differently, I certainly would have done a sole prop. I would have researched, I would have likely done a sole prop. One of the other big the takeaways is like even if you're not making money that year, it doesn't you don't get like a little like star like
No,
good job, you don't have any responsibilities. Like
no, you don't.
that's
No, and I want to comment on that because a lot of people don't realize, and I'm real into this because I have to be through all the people I see, but I even have lawyers that say this incorrectly, but I have CPAs that say this incorrectly, with just CPA should know. If you have an LLC and you have no actions whatsoever, you must file a zero report, they call it, in California. Federally, you do not need to, but in California, you do. Other states aren't all that way. So then they get you with failure to file, right? Because you didn't file the zero report. They can't get you with failure to pay, but they can get you to failure to file and they get a penalty. And most people will say to me, and that's what it starts to say, I opened an LLC, but I didn't do anything with it. And right away, I'm like, oh, whoa, 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 wait, wait. There's no such thing as opening an LLC and not doing anything with it. There's actions and fees and stuff that, yeah, very good point to bring up, Lisa, because a lot of times people do think that it's just dormant. They say to me, I have a dormant LLC. That's like saying I have a dormant body. You're either alive or dead. There's no dormant. I know people I feel like are dormant, almost doormat to dormant, but there's no dormant in life, okay? I guess maybe coma, but that's still not dormant. So there's no dormant human. There's no dormant LLC. I don't know what else to say on that.
yeah, those are powerful words. Those are powerful words because I feel like our instinct is that, oh, well, we didn't know, so we can kind of get off the hook. Yeah, and just like big flashing neon letters, that's not how it works. It's not
No,
how it
it's
works.
not. It's almost like a movie. Those movies where the person goes up to the counter and they're like, I didn't know. And then my boyfriend did this and this. And the person behind the counter is just listening. And at the end, they go, that'll be $100 fine. The same thing they said right before. That's exactly how they are, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So I think that's just key and to just really, really like get with a lawyer or like do the proper research and make sure you have a full understanding of the structure and what's expected, what like response, like know that you're going to be on the hook. It's not going to be able to, you can't just pass it off to the CPA or anybody, and that ultimately it's
In that, let's also
responsibility.
talk about something I say, stay in their own lane. People think that LegalZoom is giving legal advice. They think if they go to a lawyer, they're covered. They don't realize the tax person deals with the tax part, the lawyer deals with the legal part, and LegalZoom is just filing documents. So they don't realize, and it's part of unfortunate for, like I said, your generation and around that age. When I grew up, we didn't go to a lawyer without thinking we also had to go to the CPA because we understood they were distinctly different things. Today, it's melted so much together that it would almost be say like if I was to say to you, I went to the pediatrician because I have a cavity. you go, well, that doesn't make sense. And so that's how I hear still CPA and lawyers, but they don't even understand that they're different disciplines and they're giving answers from different positions. So that's another thing you
Mm.
learned is that, okay, this person that is doing this maybe doesn't have the right information about that. I think that's another key thing for people to understand.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and again, I think it does kind of come back a bit to the social media effect, and it all gets kind of grouped under one umbrella, and you think you're like free and clear, or that person has all the answers. But yeah, that's super important, Lori, and thanks. I mean, I almost just forgot right now, so
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so key, and I do think it's true for my generation. I'd say as a collective, it feels like that we kind of forget they are separate people with separate disciplines, and it does take going to each one and really
Well,
getting
and you
clarity.
never been exposed to it. So here's the fun now thing. This is the bringing it all together. So you ready? Here's the $1 million trick question. I say $1 million trick question because it is a complex question. You ready, Lisa?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to give what I see out of our conversation. So I see this person comes into the world, gets a lot of hard knocks rules, but has this creative spirit that understands the ability to manifest, this ability to, try different things, and you dabble and you have fun with life and you take it on, you take the actions, all those wonderful things. You finally settle into something you really like and your company's doing good, has done good. You get hit with this thing that a lot of people did, with the fires and stuff. So you get hit a lot and you get a lot of wake up calls. You get a lot of wake up on how fast things can change. You get wake up calls that, wait a minute, there is agencies, organizations, and things that I got to get through, and they may not all be in my same interest. Like, you spoke to agencies in the fire trying to get where's the resources? What am I going to do? The doctor not giving you actual information, whether he didn't listen or whatever, he didn't give you good information. And then finding out trusted people wasn't directing you on everything that needed to happen in the LOCs. So it was like the little kid playing in the same sandbox had some bad experiences with the pails and the shovels and the people in the sandbox, but suddenly you got introduced to what I call the monopoly game, and you have to deal with what is engaged in regulatory and legal, and realize that you thought you were just a little company having fun living quietly, but you're actually also subject to all these regulatories. Now, you named it a year of adulting, and you communicated, which I don't even know what it is to you, but I got this feeling like it was something that was a new layer onto Lisa that was going to allow you to go forth after this year of adulting and see the world in another yet way. Not different, not better, but just another way. Like it was going to be something about Lisa that she will have gained something during this year of adulting that's going to make you even more powerful. That's the sense I got. What do you see it as? What is the year of adulting giving you, and how do you think that's going to change your future endeavors?
Thank you. That was so beautiful, Lori. I really appreciate it. I feel like that resonates really, really hard with me. And I see it as, yeah, as a definitely it's been a skill building year. It's been a year of learning so much. Like I do feel wise. I feel like a big takeaway. I just also want to scream from the rooftops is advocating for yourself and advocating again. And people, just to be blunt, I mean, they've tried to make us feel really dumb about it, but like we just keep up the confidence and we keep up, knowing and researching and talking, you could get a totally different outcome by switching the person up that you're talking to. You can go to an
Totally.
agency and then have a night and day outcome. So maybe if going to like if I were to apply a year of adulting and that way, like if I was trying to get a business loan or something like that, it means to me like anything can happen in all these different ways. Maybe it doesn't work out at that bank, but if I talk to the other person, maybe it will, like there's just nothing that feels super set when to research, do your own, your own research. You could, I mean, I'm not going to stop trusting people, but like I'm also going to just make sure that when it comes to me, like I have to accept full responsibility. If my tax return goes out, okay, that means I'm going to be doing the double checking. I'm still going to have someone prepare it, but now I know that responsibility is fully on me. So I have to prepare it if we end up buying a home somewhere and, checking the insurance, looking through everything really, really like with a fine tooth comb and just like all these things, the response it kind of comes back to the responsibility factor and knowing like we can always troubleshoot, like we can get through it, but it takes um a lot of resilience. It takes the confidence, it takes the research and advocating for ourselves, I think.
I
And
love that word advocating. And it's so funny. I had the word trust in my head just when you said it. And I don't mean it in any negative way, but I've always lived my life that I don't trust anyone. I don't trust anyone. I trust myself 100%. I don't trust anybody 100% because the only one that has my whole back 100% is me because I know what that means. I know what that means to me, right? But I trust myself to find trusted individuals to give me information, even if it's partial from each that I piece together to get the right information for myself. And that's kind of how I look at it. And so I try to find that person that I trust will give the information, but I'm going to ask two other people the same thing and see what
Mhm.
their answer is, because I trust myself ultimately to make the decision to determine what is in my best interest. And everybody else, in fact, I've said this for years, and people who know me well or worked in my company or something like that say, oh, yeah, another data point. All humans on planet Earth just give me data points. That's how I look at it. It's just a data point, and I collect data points and then I make a decision. So I love what you're saying. I think being an advocate for yourself is trusting yourself and gathering. And I think that if there was one thing that in my looking at my generation versus your generation, I think your generation came up a little bit more trusting than my generation, perhaps a little more trusting in unknown people on the internet. So I think that it just puts everything back in your own power, and it's owning your own power. So I really thank you for sharing that. And I just know that whatever, in your coaching or mentoring, continuing to build sets, or maybe opening up your doggy daycare, I don't care what it is, every bit that you have learned. And I think what you have learned for me, I always call the fact I always say, yeah, I'm a spiritual being and I love to manifest, but at the end of the day, I live in 3D reality, which is a Monopoly game, and I got to know it, right? So it's like you've combined now this understanding of the magic of being a human being in the world and being able to create, but also knowing that you are in a 3D world with a Monopoly game that you have to understand enough how to play as well.
Yes, yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So I will, end my summary and pass it to you is say, this is about where unicorns and rainbows meet Monopoly.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I
Pass
love it.
that on to you, but that's my news. Let's call it unicorns and rainbows play Monopoly.
That's so perfect.
Any last words you'd like to leave with the audience, Lisa?
I'm just so thankful that you had me on the show, Lori. It's always wonderful to talk to you. And I would just, for the audience, yeah, I think just really taking all this to heart and seeing, how you can infuse some of these lessons, especially just like that adulting part of like maybe getting past the fear and like going to talk to the agency to sort it out so it doesn't go back and haunt you,
Yeah.
because I think it will. These things like they will have a way of coming back around. And so in yeah, in kind of my manifestation practice, it's we want to keep that magic and hold it. And
Yeah.
also, like you're saying, exactly like you're saying, you can't just sit on the couch and wish for things to like go away, poof. Like it doesn't work
Yeah.
like that either. So really having a nice balance, whatever that is, to you of both, then I think that's, going to get you through whatever
It
challenge
is.
you're
Another
facing.
way of saying it is, remember when we were kids, Lisa, and you go, I can't see you, I can't see you. It doesn't really work, guys. It work. Lisa,
Yeah.
I'm going to bring Sadie back on, but I just want to say thank you for your honesty. Thank you for your humor. Thank you for sharing this story and giving us these really profound lessons at the same time. Sadie, was that not entertaining, interesting, and a lot of takeaways?
I mean, if I would say it, it's like almost like a business telenovela, right? Where I was like, what's gonna happen next? And then, but you know what it is? That's what life is, right? Where you're just like, once you get one little fire, something else, and you're just like, boop, 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 boop. And so that's why I appreciate Lisa because you know what? It's like, it's hard, but we got to do it, right? And hopefully we can do it with positive and or uplifting energy. Let's not say positive. I don't like when people say positive.
Yeah, uplifting. And so I'm going to end before I go. So I know that this conversation also sparked a bunch of questions. I see Anonymous is asking about home-based business. Well, Sadie, as the universe works out perfectly, I don't have the guest next week. I got Ask Lori next week. So next week, you guys ask questions about what kind of documents do you need to check? What kind of things do you have to know? Should you be an LLC? Should be a sole prop? Whatever you want to know. All these things we talked about, we can fill in the detail blanks. And it just so happens that that's going to be a perfect thing for next week. So that's what we'll plan on is to ask Lori anything. And we'll talk about it next week. So Lisa, thank you again. It's always a pleasure to have a conversation. I love laughing with you. And your wild story was even more wilder and more fun than I even anticipated. So thank you for sharing it. So Sadie's going to stay behind. She's going to make sure everybody has Lisa's information, my information. If you want to get in touch with me and schedule an appointment through the SBDC, I got to check out now. So this is Lori Williams, and thank you for watching Small Biz Talk next week. And I'll see everybody next week where we'll have a private, personal conversation amongst all of us. Okay? Till next week. Bye, everybody. Bye, Sadie. Bye, Lisa.
Bye, guys. All righty, guys. So you know the drill. I'm putting myself on mute, but I will. Actually, I put myself on mute too early there. Alrighty, so I got this poll going on for you. I dropped on Lisa's information, Lori's. Let me drop in those webinars for you because Lori has some webinars coming up. So give me one little second for that. If you need anything else, please let me know. I make the assumption that everybody is already a client of the SBDC, but if you are not a client of the SBDC, please reach out. This is your tax dollars at work, folks. So you can get a one-on-one business advisor. It's no charge. And as you can see from Lori, we have business matter experts that are experts in their field. And I think I used redundancy on that one. But what I'm basically saying is that, when sometimes when people hear free, they're like, oh my God, how good is it? And what advice? No, no, no. Like for the SBDC, it is definitely business matter experts. They will guide you. And we have a whole entire network. So if you have a situation, questions where your particular one-on-one business advisor does not have the answer, they will guide you. They will connect you with the subject matter expert that will be able to answer your questions. So this is the very cool thing about the SBDC. We are a network. We communicate with one another and we help one another. So as you go along your business process, there will be someone that can help you in whatever situation, moment you are in your business, if you're starting, growing, all those things. So do not be shy, reach out, become a client. If you are not, the free webinars, like I said, I can go on about how much I love the SBDC, but you know how it is. This is not a commercial. So you guys click away, let me know if you need anything, and I'll be hanging out for a few if in case you missed any info in there. Alrighty?